and get it started. So, welcome
All right.
everybody to another episode of the Cardinal Crunch podcast. So we got David, one of Titano's advisors, and it's going to be a phenomenal conversation about entrepreneurship, um, crypto as a whole, and kind of where the space is heading. So, David, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell
All
us a
right.
little bit about yourself. I know you have a
All
phenomenal
right.
story
Ooh.
to tell.
Okay. Well, thank you, man. I first of all, hello everybody. It is an absolute pleasure to be here in the Cardinal community. I know there are a bunch of Titans here, so I love you guys. I'm a Titan, a proud Titan, and it's always great to talk to the Titans and the new communities. So a little bit about myself. I come from born and raised in New York, spent a long time in Los Angeles in the entertainment and technology fields. Either as an entrepreneur, I've always had my own company since I dropped out of college, my third year. I thought I was going to be a doctor and dropped out because I got into a business and it started making me a lot of money. And I was like, why am I going to school again? Oh, yeah, to make money. What's in my hand right now? A lot of money. Anyway, took my act on the road and got into Hollywood in the entertainment industry and was fortunate enough to have some successes there and started my own company there. And it was an amazing process because I never really understood how to manage employees or how to build a business and then sustain a business. And so it was, but I've always been the kind of person I like to take new things on, and I like the underdog status. We're gonna win, and so I created this company with my then wife at the time, and we, took on this really tough area of Hollywood, and we became very successful at doing it. And I learned a lot of things about the difference between being an employee and a boss, and the challenges, and all the different elements that have to come together in order for you to have create and sustain success. And I loved it, and I really really loved it. And then we took this little company and took on the powers that be, and we won. And I don't own the company anymore. My ex-wife does, and she still runs it and is very successful. And but it kind of gave me this I guess foundation for creating things. And I'm a creative person, so it just was like, okay, I have these ideas, how do I turn it into something? And those experiences gave me opportunities to kind of go down that road and learn. And I had great people who were working with me and for me, and it was just an amazing ride. And um, and I also had a background love always for technology, right? Not as a technologist, not as a person who creates technology, but someone who goes, boy, that's really, really cool. How would you then put that into the marketplace so it's successful? And I began to get people who would let me work with them to kind of do that thing, right? Take this thing that I've come up with and help me position it in the marketplace. And I realized that I had, a knack for doing that. And I worked with a couple of projects, and a few of them came successful. This was during the tech boom. And next thing I know, my name got out there, and people were calling me from all around the world saying, "Hey, man, could you do this for me? And could you do this for me? And could you do this for me?" And it took me around the world. And my first set of traveling was really, getting and working with these companies and these amazing inventors and business people. And I got into learning how to write a business plan and a marketing plan and a vision plan, and dealing with investors, and all sorts of people in the business world. And I was this creative guy who all of a sudden got thrown into this stuff. And again, I realized I had a knack for it. And so it took me, on the personal side. I was a kid that grew up with, in a family that didn't have a lot of money, and all of a sudden I had a lot of money. And I realized that, I had all of these ideas around how I would feel once or if I ever had a lot of money. The way I talk about it is, we'll see a guy in a really, really expensive car or living in a really expensive house. And we think, boy, he must be laughing. He must just wake up laughing. And throughout the day, he just pulls his car over at the side of the road. And he's just laughing, right? Because that's the perception that we have. And I became that guy, and I wasn't laughing. And I went through this sort of exercise about what is it. And I'm one of these people that's always self-examining, like, what's going on with you right now? Like, you got what you want, but you're not feeling that way. And I realized that money's just a product. It's something that's great to have, and it helps you to be more comfortable, more resourceful, but it doesn't necessarily connect you with happiness. And I'd realized at that point that I didn't really have a great connection with happiness. I had a great connection with things. And what I've learned is, what you put your time into manifesting, if you get a clear path to it, right, and move all the obstructions, you get that thing. But doesn't necessarily mean that that's the thing you either want or need. And so, right at the height of everything for me, I was having this crisis of consciousness. Like, where's that feeling? And so I kind of went on a journey to try to. I've always been this kind of person to discover, where the heck is that feeling? And I came to the conclusion that one of the things was I just, I didn't include it into what I was looking for. And so I started. And when I did, it caused my life to change, right? Where um, a lot of the things that I began to value, I didn't value as much. And a lot of the people that I thought were really important just didn't seem that important. And the same thing was happening from the other side. They looked at me differently. And I've always been kind of like an outside and obtuse thinker. So people were just kind of like, that's just David. He's just doing his thing and blah, 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 blah. And right along with that, I started traveling and traveling more, like personally, just to go see. And I went around the world, and I was curious about this thing, this happiness. Like, how do you find it? And I went to some places, and I found people that didn't have any money or anything beyond what they needed for the next few days. And they were the happiest people in the world. And I went, what the heck is going on here? And, for me, it was kind of like, I just gravitated toward that. I just gravitated towards, man, it's happiness, happiness, happiness. And so I decided, my marriage fell apart, and I had to decide what was going to be me. Who are you? And I decided to try an experiment, which is to put happiness in the middle of my life. So do the things that make you happy and build up from there. And anything that doesn't make you happy, get rid of it. And so I did that, and it was an amazing experience, and I believe it's made me more successful, right? But let me say, my ideas about success have changed. What's important to me, what's successful to me, and it's not just finances; it's people. I've always been about wanting to help people to reach their potential. Um, I am a people person. I love people, and even if they don't love me. And so it's kind of what's led me down my business path. And I'm one of those people. I get tremendous opportunities all the time financially, but I'm looking at the people. And if I go, I don't like these people, I don't do that deal, or I can't imagine myself, or I don't want to empower those people, then I don't get involved. And that, along with becoming very communicative, like emotive, like I tell you how I feel, has sort of set the foundations for my life. That search for happiness and that holding on to happiness, and that's what I advise people to do. If you got a crisis of consciousness, look for happiness. Start there, because that's going to be something that's going to be fulfilling to you. So anyway, so from a business standpoint, it took me around the world, and I ended up, working on starting businesses in 4 continents. And, all of them had different levels of success, but they were all successful, and it brought me to Southeast Asia, and I felt comfortable here. Like, I was in this happiness vibe, and I was like, man, I'm really, really happy here. And I'm, again, one of those people that was like, start with the happiness. You're happy here, stay here. And you can imagine it causing upheaval. You're what? You're where? What? Calm down. But yeah, I went all in, and from that, I created a foundation for myself and built up my business a little bit. And then crazy crypto came into my life. And how I got into crypto is, a good friend of mine has been in crypto since, I think, 2012 or something. Like, let's put it this way: he bought his first Bitcoin for 11 cents. If that'll give you any idea, Zach, that's how long he's been in crypto. I don't know if he still has that Bitcoin, but he at the time was trying to get me. I was putting together a company, and he wanted to merge our companies. And his company, one component of it was crypto. So he spent months explaining to me what crypto was. And I was like, dude, what are you talking about? A bright guy. And then right in the middle of it, he said, look, man, I'm going all in. And he went in and made a gazillion dollars in crypto. And I'm really, really happy for him. And by the way, I don't ever feel like people come back to me, well, don't you regret? I never feel like that. I never feel like I missed out on an opportunity. I don't think you miss out on opportunities. I think it's either something for you or something that's not for you. So if you don't have it, you don't have that opportunity. It just wasn't for you. So I can be exceedingly ecstatic about you doing it if I'm not involved. Even if you make a gazillion dollars, I'm happy for you. And that was the case with him. But he came back in 2018 and he said, I want to start a company with you because your skill set and what I know, and we always liked each other, always like brothers. And he wanted to start a crypto company with me. And he came out to Southeast Asia, and we had all these meetings, and I got to sit with him, and he's this, brilliant, brilliant guy, and he educated me on crypto, and I thought that I knew what crypto was, but he completely turned my head around, and he said, David, this is a revolution. This is a revolution built on innovation. Stop looking at a product. Look at innovation. Like he always says to me, he says, innovation is inevitable, right? And so crypto's inevitable. This is a change like the industrial revolution, like the automobile, like the internet. That's crypto, right? It's a product that was built to fill a need, right? And the need demanded, the need sometimes creates the product. That's crypto. Doesn't seem that way. People are, spinning it in all different directions, but that's crypto. Money's a product, and crypto's a better money product than the money that we're using. And so we didn't start this company, but we went down the road and we got funding a little bit. And so I learned a lot about it. And then he launched a crypto project. And right in the middle of that, I got a phone call from my good buddy, John, who I've known for a long time. And John was like, what are you doing? I said, man, I'm doing this crypto stuff and I'm learning and blah, 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 blah. Went on 15 minutes. I said, listen, man, why are you calling me? He's like, dude, I'm in crypto. I'm doing really well. I want to bring you into crypto. And I said, why do you want to bring me into crypto? He said, your skill set, your thinking, your creativity, I think we could do some really good things here. And I know that your values and your mission, the way you look at life is empowering people. I think we can do all of that with crypto. And I hadn't thought about it in that way. And after several discussions, I ended up in the crypto industry consulting projects. And so, yeah, it's been quite a journey. It's been amazing for me because, I am the kind of person I don't take very much for granted. Like I've learned, like one of the things that got me to where I was when I wasn't happy was having all these expectations. Life doesn't work that way, right? Life reveals what it is for you. And a lot of that is happening moment to moment. So if you're expecting all of this, so I didn't have any expectations around what my role would be, what my influence would be, all those sorts of things. It was just, I felt really, really good and excited around the potential to help people. And that brought me into crypto. And it has been a wild, wild, and I mean that in a good way, kind of a ride. It's been wild, Zach. It's been amazing, man. And getting more and more amazing as time goes on. Like I'm more excited than I've ever been about being a part of the space, whatever role that I'm playing. Um, so yeah, that's my long-winded answer to my background. As I mentioned, uh, I've been really, really fortunate, financially and with people in my life. I got a lot of really high quality people in my life. Got a lot of people I can count on as friends. I know a lot of people that don't have that. But I take it. I don't take any of it for granted. And even if when you hear me in my communication with people, because I'm big on communication, right? I'm always I'm always tempering what I say and how I approach people based on their needs, not just mine. Like for instance, if I do an AMA in Titano, I understand that if people, I might be in the chat and people are like, man, we got all these questions we want to talk to you. I'll say, okay, let's jump into an AMA. And then I'm in there and maybe 2 or 3 people will talk, right? There's 30 people in the chat coming at me. I go in there and there's 3 people. What happened to everyone? Well, in that environment, it's intimidating. I can be intimidating to people. So I have to tone it down and let them know this is about you. I'm here for you guys. This is not about me trying to impose my will or my ideas or my ego on you. It's about all of us working together to get something accomplished. I need you. You know, so all of this, it's a challenge, right? Because people come to this space because they have a strong set of emotions, and one of those emotions is frustration. I get it. And they want answers, and they want, to find something that they can hold on to in this very uncertain world. That's one of the reasons why they're here, as corny as that sound. And so part of what I view as my role is, don't add more confusion. And I will in a second take the brunt of it simply because I want that person to have an ability to express themselves. It's critical, to be able to get it out. So in that environment, if I'm in an AMA, part of what I'm trying to do is back away from, hey man, look, and I always say, if some of you in here don't feel comfortable talking in this environment, please send me a private message. We don't have to do it here in front of everyone. It's intimidating sometimes. So yeah, it's at the same time, I realize that how I come across to a lot of people is offensive, right? Who the hell are you to tell us what you, who cares? Right. And I want all of you to know, I tell everybody, I feel the same way about myself. I don't feel like my opinion is so special. I don't feel like I don't feel any of that stuff. I feel like I'm doing what I need to be doing. That's what I feel like I'm in my purpose right now. And so, it motivates me to talk. A lot of times I don't feel like talking. I get a lot of people, oh man, we need some good words, cheer us up, project's down, industry's down, world's gone to hell, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, me? But I do it because I feel like that's my purpose. And, it does. I get, tons of messages from people saying, man, your voice, you just lifted me up. You made me think about things, take my mind off of this and all of that. And people need that. We all need that. I have people that I have my best friend. I call him. I'm like, dude, I'm terrified right now. You have 15 minutes. So yeah, that's so the personal stuff. I'm giving you the personal stuff. That's how I look at all of this. And I've got a strong emotional and spiritual and physical constitution. I can take a lot. None of this stuff affects me. Right. I was on a call a couple of days ago and I told the guy, I said, listen, man, you know what I'm going to do after this call? I'm going to go play Xbox with my son and I won't even remember a thing that you said. So here's what you should do. Let it all out. Just give it to me. Knowing that 15 minutes from now, it's going to be me and my 7-year-old son as X-Men. And that's where my attention is going to be, not on this. Anyway, so that's a long-winded answer about how I got here. And yeah, really, really exciting. Really exciting about being able to connect with people and, to get them to realize their potential. I said this about Titano in the beginning and about me. I don't think I'm going to be a difference maker, but I think I might meet some difference makers. Zach, you might be a difference maker. I've told you that before. And my role might just be to give you a kind word or a supportive word when you're feeling like you're not going to be a difference maker. This stuff is hard. This is not easy. The Titano devs, I can't imagine what they're going through mentally. I can't imagine it. But what gets revealed is enthusiasm. So that's what I focus on. Hey guys, let's keep building. Let's keep going. And they are always up for that. And that's why I'm in Titano still. People say to me, David, when is enough? It's enough when we give up. As long as we don't give up, I'm here. And, the devs, like I tell the Titans, they are as enthusiastic today as when I met them in November, when the project was 100% dead, 99% dead. Right? They're enthusiastic. And that, to me, is contagious. It's, man, if these guys, right, everybody since Titano started has been like, oh man, it's a rug pull, it's this, it's that. We're 11 months in today, 11 months today, and we're still here, still building. And it's a representation for me, Zach, of how I do things. I don't run when things get tough. I don't hide. I don't try and make excuses. Keep going. I don't freeze. A lot of people, what do? We move. We keep going. We keep building. Well, when do we stop? When there's nothing left. Anyway, I didn't want to turn this into a motivational speech, but there you go, man.
Too late, too
You
late.
asked for it.
Yeah, no, I
Hey,
love it, and I think that that skill set of being able to kind of cater to the audience and really understand the energy that everybody has that you're chatting with. I think that's a super, super unique and powerful skill set. So
mm,
that's awesome. And I guess going back to when you had chatted about the mindset shift that you had,
mm.
realizing that having money and these businesses didn't necessarily make you happy, and trying to find that, what is the process that you have to go through internally to
Ah,
come to that conclusion? I guess walk us through
wow.
that. It's a loaded question, but
It's a loaded question. You know what it is, man? It's brutal honesty with yourself, right? I had in when I was 28, I had a nervous breakdown, and I woke up in the hospital and didn't know what happened. And the doctor said to me that if you don't change your life, you are not going to make it to 30. And I was devastated because I was flying. And what I decided to do is to kind of try to understand like how humans work better. So I took these classes on how we operate, right? Technically, that's crazy, I know. And I learned that, we are meaning and perception building machines. That's what humans are, right? We need to have a context for everything. If you want to get deeper into it, like if you think about it from a psychological standpoint, right? There are a bunch of different schools of psychological thought, right? You got Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung who talk about, the dream influence and sexual urges and all those things, right? And then you got Adler who talks about, it's about us living as groups and our psychological components that determine everything. And then you've got Viktor Frankl, right, who talks about man's search for meaning, right? What are we all doing here? And the truth is probably there's a combination of all of those things that are going on. And like I said, so for me, I wanted to understand how could I have all of this stuff, everything I ever wanted, and have a nervous break? Like, what in the world is going on with you, David? And it got me on this journey of self-examination. So that's the first step. That's the first step. If you're realizing that there's something missing, then you start trying to discover, well, what is that thing? And, for me, it was I wasn't self examining. I wasn't paying attention to what I really wanted. I was manufacturing things. And so I had to get to, well, David, what do you really want? If it's funny, it's a complicated question that people simplify, and they simplify it right out of being relevant. Well, what do you want? Well, I want to be rich. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? You want to be rich? Define rich to me, right? Does it mean you have more money than you can spend? Does it mean you have friends on call? Does it mean you have a loving partner? What does it mean to you? Right? And remember, everything that you want that you don't have now, you're going to have to give something up to get it. So, what are you willing to give up to get rich? I'll give you an example. When I was in the music business, there was a guy that came to me who had a band, and the band was spectacular. There was only one problem keeping this band because I was like, why does this band have a deal? And there was one problem. The drummer in the band couldn't play on time. Now, one of the key elements for a drummer is he needs to be able to keep a beat. And this guy couldn't keep a beat. Everyone else in the band was spectacular except the drummer. So I went to the guy that brought in, who was the lead singer, and I said, listen, I can help you, but you got to get rid of your drummer. And he said, I can't get rid of my drummer. I said, why not? He says, my brother. If I get rid of my drummer, my mom's going to kill me. Now, that doesn't sound like it, but that's an existential conflict he's going through. And so I took him through the process of looking at, well, what do you want? Do you want to appease your mom, or do you want to be a success in the music business? And in the end of the day, he wouldn't let his brother, he wouldn't find another drummer. And I came with all kinds of suggestions. Well, why don't you have another drummer play for the recording, and then your brother can play? Like, oh, she would never go for that. She would never go for that. right? So what did he really want? He didn't want fame with his brother. He wanted to appease his mom. That was the motivating. That was the motivator in his life, and it took him down a path. So it's not always as simple as we think. Like we lay out these things. So the first thing is really kind of creating a process for yourself where you can start asking these hard questions and being honest with yourself about it. Like I was, hey man, how could you're something, David, you're not, because you're saying you want the big car, the big house, it is, the watch, the ring, the, hey, you know what that is, you want all of that, but it doesn't mean anything to you. So what are you not being honest about? And like I said, when I went down that path and started trying to find ways to kind of get into that, I ended up in these classes that were kind of set up to tell you how humans work, how we all work. And from that, I learned, how to get deeper and how to be honest and how to not, how to, a strange phrase, but how to give myself permission to feel a certain way. I didn't give myself permission. I was on this path. So feeling afraid and feeling like maybe I don't like this, I never had. You're going to be this at any cost. And I had to give myself permission to not be happy about some of the things that I had. There's a cost when you have a lot. You have to spend a lot of your energy maintaining things. I tell people this story, when I was in LA driving around in a $200,000 car, whenever I would go into a lunch or a dinner and there was no valet to park my car, half my time I'm sitting at dinner worried about is somebody stealing my automobile. I'm excusing myself saying I'm going to the bathroom to go out and check on my car. What? That's rich. It is a cost, and I wasn't paying attention to those things. I wasn't being honest with myself about it. So I started being honest. And what I did was I went all in, which is rare for people, where I just said, whatever it is that's not making me happy, I'm going to get rid of it. I don't care what it is, because happiness had to be the goal for me. And so, the first step of the process is self examination, right? Getting comfortable. And it's always a process, getting comfortable with yourself and going, man, I'm not happy right now. Or what is this thing? Or what do I really want? Do I know what I want? Maybe you don't know what you want. That's fair. Life is set up for most of us where all of it's thought through, right? Your religious points of view, your political points of view, what you're going to become, the type of person you're going to end up marrying, all those things are set up. Now you got to fit into that. You have to do that. Maybe you don't fit into that. I didn't. I come from a pretty religious family. Both my grandfathers were pastors. My brother's a pastor, right? So it's pretty much, man, you're going to be this Christian and, da, 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 and that's just how it is. I went around the world and I was like, man, there's something else besides Christianity. So it's like we're all struggling with that. And so it's an effort, right, to figure out like who are you and what do you want and what makes you happy. And then second part, accepting that, giving yourself permission where that's okay. That's okay. It's okay that you don't want this. Okay that you don't want to be in Hollywood and being invited to all of the parties. Like it means nothing to you. That's okay. Even though everyone around me was like, what? You're not going? What are you? Of course you're going. And you're taking me with you. So it's giving yourself permission. And the third thing is not taking yourself so seriously, man. There's one thing that's true and consistent about this life. No one makes it out of it alive, right? So, you know, how serious can all of this stuff be? Like I was talking to my best friend about legacies, some people, well, my legacy. And it's like, reality for most of us is 6 weeks after we're gone, people stop talking about us. That's the reality. But you know what? That's how it should be, I think. Live your life. Go on. Yeah, bring me up occasionally, but sitting there, oh my God, he's gone. I'm gone. Probably to a better place than this one. Um, so we have to be careful about what we attach ourselves to or what we've been attached to, because they determine our thinking. They determine how we view things. And again, like in my case, they just didn't fit. So yeah, it's but to answer your question is that it's really about like, coming up with a process, right, that allows you to be the best that you can be. That's at the end of it, right? Everything else along that road is up for debate. But that thing, and so that's what I did. And when I got it, it was interesting. When I got it, I knew it immediately. It's like, wow, I am so happy right now. I'm just and doing nothing. just being here, being me, being comfortable with myself. The small things, it just turned on for me. And it was always there. It was just covered by so many other things that I couldn't see it or feel it or sense it. And then once I started removing all of these layers, no, you're not that. No, you're not that. I don't care what you think. Get out of my life. How did you get in here in the first place? Blah, blah, blah. David, stop being so hard on yourself. And it's funny. For me, it was like my mom had always tried to like get me to think like this. And I don't know what I didn't believe her. I thought she was just being nice. And when I got there, I was like, this is what my mom was talking about. When she was like, don't worry about what other people think, and don't chase money, and don't put yourself in situations where you have to do things that you don't want to do because you'll always regret it. And she had all these simple, amazingly wise things that she said to me. And I was, oh yeah, mom, thank you, thank you, thank you, mom, and kiss her and leave. And it all came storming back to me. It's like, man, this is what she was talking about. Like she would always say to me, some people are just nice. You're nice. Don't try to be nice. When you try to be nice, you're overcompensating and you're throwing everything out of balance. And I'm like, what? And she's right. And I say that to a lot of people now. Don't try to be nice. You are nice. It's like I say, if you had a piece of cake and there were two of you and you're going to cut it so that you both get half, like some of you, like a nice person is going to always make sure that the other person gets the biggest piece of the cake. But they'll keep cutting, and then the person cutting, the nice person, won't get any cake. So, you don't have to worry about being nice. You're just nice. So just go through life like that. And people are going to respond to you based on how they view life, not what you do. Right? That's what you learn through all of this. People come up with stuff, and I've had people write things and say things about me. I have no idea who they're talking about. They don't know me, haven't asked a question. But it's fine. It's not, I don't take that personally. That's just how it is, just how we are. So I get a lot of people trying to defend me. You know what you should do? I'm like, you know what? Let it go. That's if I'm amazed sometimes people will take all the time to go through that. It's like, let them have it. It's important to them, and there's something in it for them. So let them go through it. Another thing that happens, Zach, is I get a lot of people that come around. It's like I've been in a space long enough where, oh, I'll never, and you're going to regret it. And they come back around in my space again. And I always try and be graceful about it because I know, again, we are in a crazy industry and people are often not themselves. So yeah, so that's the process of self-examination, brutal honesty with yourself, which is hard as hell, because none of us are perfect and we're all making mistakes all the time, and we hate that about ourselves sometimes. But that's what it is. And once you get to that, like I said, give yourself permission, right? Don't be too hard on yourself, or be hard on yourself and give it a time limit. And you screwed up all day, you're gonna hate yourself. But tomorrow morning, when that sun comes up, you're gonna be in love with you, because you gotta be in love with you to make it through. You have to be, Zach. So yeah, that was my process. And it's different for everyone, but I think these core pieces, you gotta, you know, start self-examination and be brutal with yourself no matter what you find, right? It's okay. What you did, how you approached it, what you said, all those things. Like I tell people all the time, you have issues with your family, don't let them linger. When you let something go on, like you have get into a big argument with your dad and you let it linger, it turns into this big, ugly tree of reasons why you can't resolve that. So don't let it linger. Call a person and apologize, even if he's wrong, right? Because why? Because what's more important than right or wrong is the relationship. That's what's more important than right or wrong. He wins an argument, but you get a relationship. So yeah, man. So all of those things, like I said, when I put off a lot of those things that I've been holding on to, they just became obvious to me, glaringly obvious. And I live my life right now where I'm not beholden to anyone. I don't owe anybody any money. I don't have any favors or anyone has anything over me. And I've purposely done that. For a person like me, it would weigh on me all the time. And I don't want to be limited in what I say or how I say it, or, asking people permission. Well, can I say, I personally, I don't buy into that. And I've been fortunate where I haven't had to buy into it. But I think it's a foundation piece as well. Get people around you that respect you, respect your opinion. So what you're wrong. Here's a news flash. Most people are wrong most of the time. I don't care your IQ, your experience. Most people are wrong most of the time. That's the fact. So people are getting on you. Well, you're wrong. Well, you're wrong too. So that can't be the criteria, right? The criteria should be what happens when you're wrong? What happens next? What happens when you get knocked to the ground? Now what do you do? That's why, Zach, even in talking you and your team, I'm like, man, I want to encourage you guys to keep going. Keep going. You're going to take hits that you had never imagined would come. Keep going, right? They build character. They build intestinal fortitude. They build strength. Keep going. Keep going. Just by you breathing, you're gonna offend people. Keep going. That can't be the criteria. Well, I'm offending too many people. It's like my mom said, right? If everybody likes you, you're doing something wrong. Now, be smart, right? Be critical on yourself, right? Surround yourself with good, smart people, but don't let anybody talk you out of being you if the you that you're being, right, is productive, is helpful, is aimed at something that's good. So anyway, this is what's behind, Zach. You know it, right? But a lot of people don't. But this is what's behind my conversation, my experience in this space, right? This is the important parts for me. Because like I said, I could be crazy, but I think the next Bill Gates, the next, Elon Musk, right? The next, those guys are coming out of this crypto space. That's what I think. I think they're here. And I want to encourage them. I want to, encourage them even when they fall flat on their faces. Man, get up and try it again. People need you. People are here because they're crying out for change, right? I'm doing everything you people are telling me to do that's the right thing, and I'm still not getting anywhere. What? And they run to this space. And I'm happy to have them here. And so, I want to encourage you, like, Zach, in my conversations with you guys, it's like, hey, man, you guys are young, you're enthusiastic, you're building, you got skills. All you need is some time, right? You're going to fail and fail and fail and fail. Don't give up because every failure is part of success. You're not going to have success unless you go through 1,000 of these. Man, I could tell you stories. Oh my gosh. Wow. Spectacular failures, brilliant failures with some of the smartest people you've ever met. This thing we're in right now, this crypto space, this is quite a monster to tame, and it's changing every other day. And so, but it's amazing. And, it's like, I tell people that, the biggest artist of the last couple of decades is Madonna, believe it or not, right? Because she's all about change. Embrace it. Don't run from it. Embrace the change. The change gets us where we want to go because we're all experimenting right now. So change is part of the experimentation, part of innovation. Anyway, man, I'm droning on for you, Zach. I apologize, but yeah, man. So that's the long-winded. Be brutally honest with yourself, and if you're not now, then practice it. Right? Practice makes perfect. Right? You're not gonna like it in the beginning if you haven't ever done it. I didn't. But I kept doing it because I knew how important it was. It's really, really important. It gets you to appreciate other people, right? When you are brutally honest with yourself, right? Stop blaming everyone. I always tell people if you want to find like the common denominator of problems that you're having, I could save you a lot of time. It's you. Oh, that guy and him and David and blah 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 blah. It's you. So start there, right? Figure out what you're doing. People ask me, man, you don't know. They say, you don't know what you're doing. I'm like, maybe you're right. Do you? Do you know what you're doing? Because you're here following me. So what are you doing then if I don't know what I'm doing? Have you thought about that? Oh, now you're playing with words. We're all playing with words. And we're all trying to manipulate people into thinking a certain way. I want you to believe in you. I want you to take whatever you think I got and make it better. You can make it better. I'm ecstatic. You can build on any little thing. If you think there's 1/3 of 1% of something valuable, take it and run with it. Like I said, I am so confident that Titano has, if you look at the influence that this project has made, 200 and something, I'm sorry, 200 and something forks. Every use case has been blah, 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 blah. And now people are, oh, our community and all that's all Titano. I'm not taking credit. I'm just stating facts. And so if someone takes it and looks at either what we did or didn't do and runs with it, that's a win. That's a huge win. Because again, the goal is to take all of us into something that is special. We deserve that. We're giving our lives to our responsibilities. What are we getting from it? I'm pissed off at how the world works right now. I don't understand it. And I don't appreciate it. And I'm going to spend every bit of energy that I have helping to make it change. And I'm thankful to everyone and anyone, no matter what role you're playing in this space. If you're an investor, if you're a project creator, if you're whatever, even the guys like Brian Saylor, right? Because Brian, remember, sometimes you got to go down the wrong road to realize that someone's got to be an example of, oh, hell no, to take you the right way. Everyone's role is important. So anyway, Zach, you should stop me because I will keep going.
All right, I'll stop you.
Yeah, man.
I think your insights and just listening to you speak, I mean, it's always super intriguing. Always have
Thank
some
you.
great insights. There was at one point you had touched up on really just growing as a person. I had
Yes.
the question pop into my head, like how important are having or surrounding yourself with people that are ahead of you in life, at least in some aspects, and really leaning into that and growing from
Mm,
them. What has been your
it.
experience with
Oh
either
man.
mentorship figures or just people ahead of you in life and learning from them?
Oh man. I have been extraordinarily lucky to have people who are skilled in a lot of different areas to take me under their wing and say, let me stop you from bumping your head all the time. And my job was to listen. And listening was really hard, right? Because still do, I have very strong opinions. But what I saw was that I was progressing. And so I'm constantly, even now, like I talk about my partner, John, who's younger than me, but is much more experienced in crypto. And I lean on him unashamedly. I lean on him because what's most important to me is trying my best to get it right. And so, yeah, there are, if you look at anyone who's had any measure of success, they're always surrounded by mentor types, people that they can talk to about their ideas in an honest way and then get good advice, right? So, yeah, it's really, really important to do that, Zach, because there is no substitute for experience. There is none, right? Going through it is is the one way of really knowing what it is. Like I tell people, I learned about the world by traveling, not by watching a video or being in a magazine, because you act differently when you're in a different place, right? So watching a video about it, or I read a book about Peru, you don't know anything about Peru. You got to be there, right? So someone who's been there has a set of experiences and wisdom and knowledge that is critical for what you're doing. The interesting part about it is that it doesn't necessarily have to be directly connected to your business. You know, there is a monk, for instance, that I listened to that helped me calm down a lot because I have all this excess energy and helped me to meditate. And I'm not a Buddhist, but his words just spoke to me. And now I've probably read 30 of his books. And yeah, he's not alive anymore, but he's like a mentor to me about keeping things simple, and uplifting, focusing on uplifting and deciding and recognizing that if you don't decide, you decided. And when you do decide, choose the thing that creates a win-win for everyone. And he taught me that. Like I couldn't get to that when I was in Hollywood, right? It was always kill or be killed. And I couldn't get comfortable. And then I read this monk and he was like, this is a fundamental thing for us to have. It's fundamental for happiness, creating win-wins. people, we live in a society where people believe that there's this lack, right? There's a limited amount of things. And that dictates our approach. It's like my friends who are very, very wealthy. They still believe that they can't help because it's going to detract from what they have. But that's just a mindset, right? In a world where we create so much stuff that no one's ever going to be able to use, how could you think we're in an abundant world, right? But it's a mind state. And so that came from, for me, from people mentoring me. David, stop. You don't need to fight because there's enough for everyone. If you think about what that does, if you take that thing away, this whole, competition, I'm not saying you can't compete, but I'm saying you can't kill, right? Because there is enough in spite of what they limit what we have, right? It's kind of like if you went into any city, major city, and went to like when all the restaurants are closing and see how much food they throw away. And on the other side of town, there are people going to sleep with no foods in their stomach. How does that happen? Right? Where's the lack? There is no lack. It's just we decided I'm gonna, like I was talking about Salt Bay and his restaurant where he's got $2,750 steaks. What do they do with those steaks at the end of the night that don't sell? What do they do with them? I'm sure they don't send them to, the homeless shelter, right? This is a $2,750 steak. So what are you going to do with it? Right? So we create these situations, these environments, these belief systems, and then we live into them. Rich people live into them. Well, I've got to have this and I can't do that. And poor people live in, well, I got to be like rich people. And then it's this loop that doesn't serve any of us. I read, this is pretty funny. I read about this uh, gated community. And one of the things that they were pitching, that they were thinking about doing, was putting a school in the gated community. Now think about that, Zach, right? It's a security thing, all these school shootings, but our school's going to be in the gated community. So essentially, you don't have to, what's after that? A supermarket? You never have to leave, right? And the irony of that is humans are pack animals, right? We need to be around each other, right? History has shown that when you section people off, horrible things happen, horrible ways of thinking about other people. And now here you are in a gated community where the school's in the community. It's odd, but it comes from this, again, this point of view of lack. So having access to other ways of thinking and people are going to open you up. Not just like I told you, Zach, when you guys came to me and talked about Cardinal House, I said, I'd rather talk about you four, who you guys are, right? What's your expectations? What's your mindset? What's your belief systems? And then compare that to each other so that you don't run into a crash, right, of values, right? That's what happened with Liquid Capital. People ask me, what happened with Liquid Capital? It was a clash of values. They had the three principals had different belief systems, and they kidded themselves that it really didn't matter. Of course it matters. It's only going to reveal itself when there's a big issue. That's what happened with Liquid Capital. And then one thought, well, I don't trust him because he thinks like this, and I don't believe in him, and blah, 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 and infighting, and the project crashed. Right? So all of these amazing things that were there didn't mean anything because it was all about, they didn't have a conversation about their values. And I tried to get them in that conversation, but they kept saying, oh, it's not a big deal. I can deal with it. You can't deal with it. Can't deal with it. Your values are important. What's important to you, that's motivating you, that's, pushing you along and, and setting your view of the world. Those things are important. Yeah. So from a mentor standpoint, like I said, I advise people, you need to, if you've got if you're seeing that there are holes in your life, like, man, this personality type, I can't, or something, man, I keep finding myself, I get close, but I can't get there. Bring somebody in to give you some advice about it, who's going to be honest and who has your interest at heart, right? Those are the two things. Someone's going to be honest, but also has your interest, wants to see you successful. So it's critical. It's critical you surround yourself with people. I mentioned my best friend who's an amazing human being, and I can always count on him for two things: honesty and compassion, right? I run everything by him, and he's obligated to be that for me as I am for him. Yeah, man. So hopefully that's helpful. Yeah, and find people. I'm mentoring a few people now, a couple Titans came to me and said, "Hey, man, could I get some of your time every week?" I'm like, "Sure. What do you need?" And I'm really proud to do it. I'm proud of them. They're making progress, and it's always the same. Like, David, what do you think I should do? What do you want to do? Well, I want to do this. Great. Well, what does that entail? Right? And why aren't you doing it now? Right? Something you got to look into, like there's a fear of something or something you're holding on to that doesn't allow this thing to happen. Think about it. You don't need an answer right now. Take your time, pay attention, and you'll begin to notice it. Boy, every time I want to do this, I tell my mom, and my mom says, "You don't really want to do that." And then I don't do it. Wow. What does that mean? It means something, right? Where your belief systems are, right? You've empowered your mom over what you want. It might be a smart thing, might not be, but it's something again to be aware of. So yeah, it always goes back to the same thing. Like when you take on a mentor, Zach, you gotta be sure that you're ready to be told the truth. Not easy for a lot of people, man. So, but very, very important. You want to know where you stand. You don't want to be the guy that comes out of the bathroom with toilet paper on your shoe and no one wants to tell you. You don't want to be that guy, Zach. Nobody wants to be that guy. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, man.
Funny. I like that.
It's true.
Some great insights. We actually do have a question from Wayne on a little bit of a lighter topic, but he said
Ah.
ask David about what type of bikes he likes.
Oh man. I'm assuming he's talking about bicycles because I ride a bicycle. I was actually on my bike today, by the way. Woo! First time I've been on in a long time. It was laughing. I heard this laughter when I sat on it today, and I was like, "Whoo!" And it was my bike going, "Yeah, you're gonna do how many kilometers?" And it was right. Yeah, I love my bike. I got one of those. It's like a hybrid, so I can go in the hills and I can go in the streets and all that sort of stuff, and give me a chance to kind of get out there. And today I had my music going and I'm singing, riding through the streets, and everybody's looking at me like, "What the?" But I had a ball. But yeah, you have to find some things that really allow you to have like pleasure. And I've got a bunch of them, like my bike, my music. She got my music. Music, where you at? Oh, yeah, right here.
Jamming out.
Yeah, man. Oh, so yeah, yeah. So Wayne, who is a good friend of mine, amazing human being, very, very smart, very compassionate, very helpful. Wayne is in Titano, and whenever someone asks me a technical question, like a really technical question, I go, "I'll get that answer to you immediately." And I go, "Wayne, what is he talking about?" And then Wayne is like, "Oh, he's da 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 da," and I'm like, "Great." And then I send it, and I go, and the person goes, "Man, you're so smart." And I'm like, "Yep, that's me," and it's actually Wayne. Or I'll send that person directly to Wayne. That's a great question. You need to ask Wayne. But yeah, he's a really, really good human being and really, really smart. And he's really helped myself and even the devs. And he's created a bunch of tools for Titano, for the Titans to help them get more information about the project. Yeah, and now he's, as you know, turning into an entrepreneur. I love it. You go, Wayne. You go, Wayne. I'm counting on you, man, to be one of those stories where I turn on the news. Is that? Oh, it can't be. Oh my God, he's doing what with who? Oh, I'm so proud of him. Yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing. I'm gonna tell you something. One of the joys has been meeting so many people. Like in Titano right now, we've got people who are doing all sorts of different roles, and then we're about to start this. We're in the middle of starting this big marketing initiative, and we've decided like we're going to invite and involve a lot more of the Titans in it, so we can build this thing internally and help Titans also grow and grow their businesses because a lot of them have businesses. So that just got decided this weekend, and it's going to be amazing. And we've got such amazingly creative people. The video that came out that one of the Titans did, and I've gotten really close to him, and he's just spectacular. This video, it's on the Titano Finance website. The last one just got put up today, and that's a Titan that did that, and just he's brilliant, brilliant. So that's one of the real joys, right? In being involved in this project, the people, and being able to hear their stories and and help them to move things along for them. Like I tell people, you're in a community. Talk to people, meet people, make some friends. That person that you're looking for, that client, that partner, that mentor might be right here. Reach out, ask. That's what I do. I reach out in 50 seconds. One of the things I'm trying to do, like I bought into Luna Classic, right? Because I love these kinds of stories. Project Clash, community saying, we're not going to let this happen. We're going to make it right. We're going to turn this thing around. I'm in. So I bought some Luna Classic. And so one of the Titans suggested to me, why don't we try to get those guys on Switch, on the Switch decks? I was like, that's a really good idea. So I'm going down this road now, this rabbit hole, trying to find, like, who's in charge of this thing? Oh, you got to talk to this guy. It's crazy, but it's worth it. I like those kinds of stories. I listen to the videos of people talking about Luna Classic. We're going to burn trillions of tokens. We're going to do it. They might do it. They might do it. Crazier things have happened, right? And I'll tell you, this market turns around and they got their marketing together. It's going to be like Shiba Inu, where a lot of people are going to, like I tell people, you can laugh at Shiba Inu and Dogecoin. I bet you in the last bull run, 30% of the new investors came into crypto through Shiba Inu or Dogecoin. 30%, probably more. And we're going, oh, those meme tokens. And meanwhile, people are going, I don't understand crypto, but I like that cute dog. I'll buy some of that. What the hell? So it's it's inspiring, right? And I like inspiring things. I like when people get motivated enough that they do unreasonable good things, right? Not bad things, good things, right? That's a big push for me. So I'm always saying, hey man, I'm in. So like that's why I bought some Luna Classic. Do you have any Luna Classic, Zach?
I I think I have like very very small amount, like maybe $1.
Well, $1 could turn into 1,000, man. If these guys have their way. I like watching the videos, and everybody's so enthusiastic. We're gonna do it. We're gonna get all the exchanges to burn, and we're gonna. But they got Binance, man. Binance is burning and burning and burning. So what the heck, and it's hundreds of thousands of people in that community. But those are important things, and to me, they represent crypto, right? That's a micro version of crypto. All these crazy people here going, we're gonna, in DeFi, we're gonna take down the banking system. What? We might do it. We just might do it. So, I remind people, yeah, you're here because you want to have financial independence, you want to make a lot of money, but you don't want to take that money into this world, do you? You want to change too, right? So part of that means for me, I'm always trying to motivate people. Like people, like a guy was saying to me, oh man, you're manipulating. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to manipulate you to believe in you, not to talk yourself out of what you're experiencing because somebody told you something. Yeah, this smart guy on YouTube or Jerome Powell said that this is all a scam. Did you hear what oh, you mean Jamie Dimon, who a year ago said all of this is like tulips, and now he's got a whole division devoted to crypto. That Jamie Dimon you're talking about? Yeah, I think I've heard of him. Right. So I'm trying to talk us, do my role to talk us out of talking ourselves out of what we're experiencing. This is a revolution. This is an opportunity to cause a change. Like I said, there have been more millionaires made in crypto than any other industry in the history of the world. And there's no criteria, there's no hurdle. You could be anything. There's this guy on YouTube named Da Vinci J15, right? Who just bet on Bitcoin. Now he's some big influencer with, from what I hear, hundreds of millions of dollars. He just bet right. And apparently he had this video where he said everybody should buy $1 Bitcoin. This was way back, and apparently he bought a ton of Bitcoin. And those are the great stories, right? It's not some guy from some elite family or went to some school or whatever. It's a waiter that said, "Man, I like this. I like going against the system. I like innovation. I'm gonna take a shot." That person puts $1,000 in 2011, 2012. So how could you not like that? Like, how could you not be supportive of that? That it could be something, no, nothing detrimental to you, But a waiter could become a multimillionaire. A woman who's working 3 jobs to support her kids can become a multi. Where can that happen? Except here. Where's Zach? Like, how could that not excite you? How could you not be all for that? When I tell my friends and they're like, oh man, I'm like, dude, how could you not? Like, if you can't get behind that, what's wrong with you? You want all like these rich people. Look, it's I'm always paying attention to like what really rich people are buying. $20 million for a baseball card, and da 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 da. I remember they bought some of John Lennon's lyrics on a notepad, and the lyrics were smudged. You couldn't even read them, and they paid like a couple of $1 million for it. I'm like, really? Wow. Okay. But you can't get behind a waiter or a waitress or some guy working at, Amazon, 14 hours or whatever he might be, running his little business of believing in something and coming in this industry and getting paid. I, I'm behind that 100% of the time, Zach. And that's what we have here. That's crypto. So, I try to use my voice to not talk people out of what's going on. One of the things my guy told me that's the big crypto gazillionaires. He said, what we're in is we're in innovation, we're in change, and it's always like this. Like I tell people, you don't remember now, but do you remember the industry, Zach? I might have told you this before that built the internet. You remember what it was?
Yeah, yeah.
What was it?
The porn industry, yeah.
The porn industry. In fact, I saw a video today, and the guy was saying how the Hustler magazine was at one point the biggest website on the internet. Hustler magazine, right? So people now look at crypto and they say all these things, and it's always like that because a lot of people are afraid of change. And this is change. And part of that change is you getting control, right? Control means that you have to be a different kind of a person, right? It means you got to grow. It means you got to mature. And a lot of people are afraid of that. You mean I'm going to be responsible? I can't blame anybody. Yeah, you're going to have to be responsible. It's at the heart of crypto. But look what you gain, right? You gain an ability to determine your own fate. Look at what's going on in the world right now. We don't have any power over whether the war is going to start or interest rates or what they're doing or the Fed or this one or EU and all that. We have no power over that. None. They're going to decide whatever they're going to decide and try and convince us that they know what's best for us. But history has shown that they don't, right? They're certainly not asking me, hey, David, what would you like to see? What's important to you? Right? They're all deciding. So this is what this industry represents. Our chance at change. And the type of change that allows us to thrive in other ways. Financially, absolutely, but also control. I want to have a little bit of control on what's going on. I don't want to run things, but I'd rather talk to you people than those people personally. Zach, I'd rather have a conversation with you about, how things are going to go than these guys, right? What have they demonstrated? What have they done? So, it's exciting and it should stay exciting. And we should fight like it's for our lives because it is when people are trying to come in, all this stuff, talk about regulation and they're going to come in. Well, who are they? Oh, you mean those people that we empowered? Those people are going to come in and tell us what we're going to do. Well, let's not let them do that. How about that? How about we decide that if you guys come in and do this, we're going to take you out of power? History has shown that that's entirely possible. Doesn't matter how strong the powers that be are. When the people come together, which again is what crypto is about, they can take anything on and win. And I know how it sounds when I'm saying that, but that's history. That's history, Zach.
Yeah, exciting times
Oh,
for sure. Actually,
oh man,
on the topic of change, I've been writing down a few questions to touch
please
up on
bring them.
as we've been going through. So on the topic of change, what do you think the world will look like, say, like 10 years from now?
Whoa, 10 years from now. Um, there is a coming tsunami that most people don't talk about, and that is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence will antiquate humans. When the car came along, before that, the primary mode of transportation was a horse. right? And a car came along, and the horse was no longer ever going to be the primary mode of transportation. Cars were so far advanced, right? So humans, we have a capacity, an intellectual capacity, and machines are now able to outthink us. I don't know if you follow, but a couple of years ago, there was this big thing where you had this world chess champion playing against IBM's Big Blue computer, and the chess champion would kick the computer's ass. And all of a sudden, one year, the computer won, and it has never lost, and it never will. And artificial intelligence is like that. It's coming. And what it's going to do, there's projections that a third of us will be unemployable. And if you think about how many different things computers, technology, AI can replace us on, look at the medical industry. Look at the medical industry, right? You won't have a need for nurses. You won't have a need for lawyers, right? There is a piece of software right now. I think it's run in the Bay Area where you can if you get a speeding ticket, you can put your information into this AI and it'll defend you in the case. It's got a better winning record than any lawyer. That's what's coming. And so what does that mean? It's going to mean that, in 25 years, 30 years, a third of the people won't be employable. So we have to change our dynamic around work, right? This whole thing, like humans are, my work equals my value. Well, that can't exist anymore, right? Because you could want to work, there won't be any work, right? And so we've got to start working on that now. Andrew Yang, who ran for president, brought this issue up, and he said, "Look, we need to think about universal income, like giving people money for just being people." Right. And it's part of this, what I'm talking about. Humans are bad at change, right? We don't want to, like you think about what happened with COVID, right? We weren't ready for COVID. I mean, look at the history of the world. If you look at any society, you read the history on a stone tablet. And it's like, well, what happened right there? Oh, 50% of the population got wiped out because of a virus. Every freaking, and we're not ready for COVID. Like, oh, it's such as a precaution. So how could that catch you off guard at any rate? So we're bad at that, at planning for these things. And because it means change. But this is one that's going to be undeniable, right? There won't be an alternative like, oh, well, we'll just let humans work. That's not going to happen, right? So we're going to have to fundamentally change our thinking, right? Everyone from businesses to individuals around what means value for us. It can't be work anymore. I personally think it's going to be a positive change, but it's going to be an upheaval and a major upheaval because, again, it's value based, right? My work means who I am, and my work, it's kind of like in America, when the whole thing happened with healthcare, what I don't want to lose my doctor. Well, have you ever thought about that? Maybe your doctor's not that very good. No, but you don't understand. I picked him. Same thing's going to happen here. What do you mean? What do you mean I can't work? What do you mean I've got to do nothing? You mean I'm going to get welfare? You're just going to send me? I can't do that. We need to be preparing for that now and having those conversations now. So that's what I see in 10 years. We need to, it's going to be right in front of us. They're holding AI back right now. They have an AI where it's a customer service thing, and you can get on the phone with it, and as it's asking you questions, it is molding its responses, its tone, its pacing to work with your brain so it gets you to do what it wants. How's that, Zach? On the fly while you're talking to it. When you have those robocalls, that's what's coming. That's going to replace a human being. And so, we need to be preparing for that now, preparing people mentally and emotionally now. That's what I see in 10 years. That's what I see. On the flip side, I see, crypto is going to become pervasive, right? And not just crypto, but don't think of crypto just as a project. Think of it as a mindset, right? People are going to be getting and giving and demanding more, right? And crypto is a component of that, right? I want to be able to get everything that's available to me in this thing. And that's what crypto represents. And when people start thinking like that, they start thinking about that in every way. So It means looking a little bit more closely, or a lot more closely, at people we empower, looking a lot more closely at businesses that we frequent, right? And things that we have an interaction with, and demanding more of that. It's coming, it's underway right now. Um, but I think in 10 years it's going to be in full bloom, Zach. Yeah. So those are the two things, or those are two of the big things that I think are coming, and we need to embrace it. One more thing though, it's interesting. I used to be one of these people that was afraid of AI. This is going to be a weird part of this conversation, but I used to be one of those people that was like afraid of AI. I'm like, man, these machines are going to come in and take over everything, and then, you know, we're going to be like Terminator, and this thing is going to Skynet, or or some movie like that. But I've come to believe that nearly the exact opposite is going to happen. I'm going to go a little bit on a tangent here. So humans, if you look at the history of humanity, right, we've always been trying to kind of tame our environment, right? We have pretty much on the earth, right? And if you look at sort of how we progress as societies, right, go back thousands and thousands of years, at some point, like in many ways, we were a lot further along than we are now. And what I think happened was, this in those days we believed in like spirituality, right? There was always something bigger that caused things. Now some of it was stupid, like, oh, it's raining, God is crying on us. But some of it was really, really strong, and it allowed us to tap into this whole spiritual thing. And then we went into this age which we're in now, which is the uh, intellectual age, right? And we believe that our mind can, and science can get us to figure everything out. But it's a false notion, right? Because we have a limited ability to think, right? Our minds have limitations. Like I tell people, there's certain things our mind will never be able to perceive, right? A great example is we can't think of something that is infinite. You can't think of something that has no beginning and no end. We just don't have the mental capacity to do that. Similarly, our senses, which is how we experience the world, is limited, right? If you look at some of those pictures from, the new space telescope, you'll see things that you could never see with your eye because they're out of the range of your eye's vision. They're there, but you can't see them. And so we've bought into this whole, well, my intelligence is going to get me to figure out my environment. And that's not going to happen, I don't believe. I think what's going to happen is AI is going to take that on, like computers and things like that is going to take that on. And what's going to happen is man is going to regress in that type of intelligence. Much like, Zach, when I was coming up, I had 50 phone numbers in my head. And now I maybe know two because they're all in my phone. I don't use them. I don't use that part of my brain. I don't use it like that anymore. What I think is going to happen is we're going to lean more back on our spirituality, right? I think when we don't have to rely on our intelligence so much, the machines will do that. We're going to lean more back on our spirituality. Spirituality connects us with everything. So I went from being afraid of this stuff to going, bring it on. Let us get back to, what connects us, right? That thing, right? That thing in the ether that connects all of us. Because then we're going to make different decisions. We're not going to be afraid. Who are we going to be afraid of when all of us are one, right? I told you it was a weird part of the conversation, but yeah, it's something that I was thinking about related to your question. I think we're on that path right now. So bring on the tech, man. Bring it on.
Yeah, that's super interesting to think about, and I
Yeah,
think
I mean, think
that's
about look, Zach. Look at Egypt and things they were doing in Egypt, right? They got maps of Egypt where someone had to be, 500 feet up in the air to draw it. They still don't know how they built the pyramids or what they're for. And part of the reason why I think we're struggling is because the things that they did, we don't buy as being possible anymore because we can't do them, right? But suppose they were, they had an uninterrupted society for 2,800 years, man. 2,800 years. They were uninterrupted. So who knows what they were able to do? And like I said, they didn't have all this technology. They had to think about it. They had to use other means to do it. And so we don't have the capability. We're trying to go, well, maybe they brought in trees and rolled it. It's like, dude, maybe they just moved it with their mind. Maybe it's just part of how they operated. It's interesting. So I think we're going to go back to more of that, and there's this connectedness that happens with all of us, which is here all along. It's like I was describing before. It's already there. There's just so much stuff heaped on top of it, Zach, that we don't even feel it anymore. We don't even feel it. So I think once it gets heaped off, like I threw off a lot of my things, once we have to throw off this and leaning on the mind and intelligence, we end up going, you know what? Wow. There's something that I want to go over here or do this or do that. I'm there already. I said this is the only thing I'll say about this because I know people are thinking I'm crazy. I bet if you went back 300 years ago and you and I were in different cities, right? So how would we communicate with each other? We send letters. I'd be willing to bet, Zach, and you may think I'm crazy, that people had a higher level of intuition. Like I bet that if something was wrong with me or happened to me and we were very, very close, you would feel it. Or I would with you. And we just don't use that anymore. We pick up a phone. I told you, man, it's crazy. But there you go. You asked for it, you got it.
Yeah, there is something to be said about that though. Like I don't think that's completely crazy to say at all. I mean, definitely there's been studies on what we can and can't comprehend, and obviously it's difficult
Right.
to do a study on something that we can't comprehend. But there's something to be said for an extra wavelength or something of the sorts
Mm.
that flows within the world or I guess within living creatures or I don't know what perspective you want to take on it, but
Yeah, we're all connected. We're all made out of the same things, right? We're made out of stardust, right? And all this stuff got created in the middle of stars or at the beginning of the. I read a lot of cosmology, right? So at the beginning of the universe, and it's all just being recycled. So it all has some level of memory of itself and interaction with itself. And do you know what quantum entanglement is?
I've heard the term, but
Quantum,
I haven't
it's
dove into it.
one of those amazing things. Like they have like find an easy way to say like atoms, right, that are in pairs. And if you move one, the other one will move, right? And you could take one and put it at the other end of the universe. And if you moved it, it would move. This is one of the ways they're thinking about they're going to be able to do travel, like long distance travel across the universe by quantum entanglement. And it's just one of those things, like it's a funny quirk of the universe. But on a basic level, it shows that there's this connection and connectivity, right? That's all of us. But how do you tap into that? And when I tell people, or when I talk about it, it's always like, however you tap into it, it's got to be. It can't be a thinking thing. It can't be well. You reach a certain intellect because it's got to be available to everyone. So tapping into it is just kind of feeling something or intuiting something or having a knowledge of something. And yeah, like I said, I think we will get back to that. I think we're on the circle and we'll get back to that. And in a lot of these issues that are at the center of everything just won't be there anymore. And that'll be a wonderful thing. I don't know if I'll be around to see it, but whoever is around to see it, it's going to be a glorious, wonderful thing.
Wow, that's really interesting. I'll have to do some research into quantum entanglement after
Quantum
this.
entanglement, man. Yeah, yeah, it's very, very interesting. The universe is amazing. I like to read cosmology because it shows me how small we are.
Yeah,
It's amazing, man. Oh, this universe. I mean, they just put that James Webb telescope up and they're looking out and you see like billions of of galaxies. Amazing, man. All right, I'm way off on a tangent, man. Listen, what else you got for me, Zach?
yeah, for sure. I guess I know we've been going for almost an hour and a half now, so probably leave off
Mm.
on this. But I know some people here from Titano wanna hear what's next for Titano, and I think there
Ah,
might have
thank
been
you, man.
a little miscommunication with the announcement that Summit put out. He was talking about this would be specifically about Titano, but it's all good. So for those
Yeah,
Titano
man.
people, what's next?
What's next? All right, I'm always happy to talk about this stuff. So this is for you Titans. So we're in the middle of a transition with Titano, right? And Titano is in a stage now where It is looking to build out an ecosystem that is strong horizontally as well as vertically. So horizontally, what I mean is building a foundation so that it can attack its issues, right? Its issues are the same issues with every crypto project, right? Fighting inflation, generating revenue, and we're in the midst of doing that. So Titano's just released a bunch of use cases that are designed to do that. The challenge is, Zach, and this is important to everyone, no matter what project you're in, right? When you are in the type of an industry that you're in right now, and I'm sure you guys are seeing this at Cardinal House, everything has a blunted effect, right? So you come up with these ideas in a lab, right? Theoretically in a lab, and then you project out what you think is going to happen. And one of the X factors is, how is the environment that you're putting it into, right? The industry, how's it going to receive it? And so, what I tell the Titans is that that X factor is huge right now. As an example, we just put out a game called Last Block, and if the projection around it was that the crypto industry, would stabilize, and it's still fluctuating, and no one knows, are we another leg down, leg up, where we going? So it creates an environment where you just don't know. And what I lean back on is that building's always good. So Titano's building, building, building. So we put out Last Block, and really is, again, we have to see how it operates. And what's been consistent is that the use cases haven't operated or worked optimally for what Titano wants. So along with that, Titano's looking to build. So if you look at use cases as vertical, right, Titano's also looking to build out horizontally. And that will be built around, at least initially, around Switch. So Switch got relaunched. There's some new features, the most prominent of which currently is the Launchpad. And more features are going to be added, but prominently. So what we're doing is we're moving projects along to be launched on a Launchpad. Now, the Titans want to know, where are we at with those projects? We are further along. Uh, we are far along in terms of deciding and bringing projects onto the Launchpad. I'm happy to report. As I've said, it's challenging because, Zach, I'm sure you know this, how we start is going to label that Launchpad. So what we're attempting to do is everything that we can to make sure that we get quality projects out. Now, again, we got to be mindful. We're in a space where 95% of the projects fail, right? So we're not trying to pick a winner, but we're also trying to avoid picking an obvious loser. So it's that word that the Titans don't like me saying, but it's process. And we're making our way. We've now got a team that I'm a part of that's dedicated to doing that, to interviewing and going through a process. We have a list of questions and an interaction methodology that we're using with the projects in order to move it along. We're trying to get projects that are, that can also, if it's possible, vibe with Titano, so it can bring some additional value. But that's not a determining factor. But if it's possible, we're looking to do that. Yeah, and we're far along. I'm hopeful. God, I hate giving dates, but I'm hopeful very soon we'll make some announcements around that. And what we're also, so these are projects we put the word out, they're filling out these forms, and then they're coming to us. In addition to that, we are we're creating our own projects. I'm a firm believer that you can't always depend on the things that you want to come to you to come. Sometimes you've got to make them. So Titano is engaged in creating projects for the Launchpad that are of the types of projects that we want to see. And these projects we're very close to. John and I are moving a few projects forward, some of the Titans. And by the way, if Titans have projects that they want to move forward, please bring them. Please bring them. You guys might have things that you're developing. We're interested. Connected to the Launchpad is an incubator. And the incubator would help develop as well as provide some funding for some of these projects. So all that's underway. So there's that part of it. And then the second part is existing projects. So we are talking with some existing projects. None have concluded yet. None of those conversations have concluded yet. So there's nothing to report at the moment. But right along with that, what we're doing is we're getting the strategy of why a project would want to list on Titano. And I've been working, I spend a bunch of time on the weekend working on this, and I'm sending something to the team tomorrow about, special features, special benefits, how to single out the switch decks in a, in a myriad of dexes, like why switch. So there's that. So that's the one side, the switch and those things. And the second thing is this marketing, right, that we're doing. So Titano is engaged a marketing firm to take on some of the heavy lifting for us. And we've spent the last month working with this company. It's a company with offices in 3 countries, and we've got 6 people from their team working with us, and everything is a new department. And fill out this form, and do this and do that. It's been a quite a bit of work getting them up to speed. I am happy to say that by the beginning of next week, we will be completely up to speed with them. And we've got a call with them on Tuesday, and we are going to lay out our plan to attack. So we are done with that part. Now, there's another piece to that that's really important, and that is that what we've decided in going through this process is we are going to run a parallel marketing initiative where we are going to engage some of the titans to create some marketing assets for Titano. Because what we've decided is that some of these assets that will be created, Titano needs to manage. Titano needs to have exclusive rights to them. They shouldn't go out of house. So we've got a lot of amazing titans who are marketing people who I've been working with for quite some time. And so I'm engaging with them now to take on specific parts of the marketing so we have 100% control over it. So that's a new development, and that's already underway, right? That got started on Friday. And so, yeah, so these dual things, the marketing firm and then Titano's internal marketing, which also, I should say, will allow us to, in some instances, move a lot more quickly, because going through this marketing firm, there's a process for everything. And there are some things we would like to be able to move a lot more quickly on. So having this internally operated marketing department will allow us to do that. So yeah, those are the updates. Yeah, those are the updates. Any of you Titans have any questions around what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll watch the AMA questions channel, but I actually had a question, and I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way. But I know some businesses, they spend, multiple years developing their products, and obviously to develop a good product you need a lot of time, and I think that's what you guys are doing right now. But
Mm,
a lot of times that doesn't start off with kind of launching an experimental project, because I don't. Would you agree that Titano kind of at the end of the day, like it's kind of like an experimental project, to see
mhm.
what different tokenomics would do with inflation, and
Yes.
do you feel that it is almost premature to launch, um, I guess, build out products based off of an experiment, or I guess what are your thoughts around that?
I think, Zach, all of these, I've said this so many times that I'm having deja vu. All of these projects are experiments, right? It's some smart people going, man, I wonder what would happen if we did this and this and this and this. Let's throw it out there. And then someone comes back and says, you know what they didn't do right? Modify this a little bit. They're all experiments, right? This is an innovation industry. Now, it doesn't mean, let me qualify that. 90% of the projects in this space are copies of experiments. Titano's a true experiment, right? It came out and said, what's going to happen if we lock that high APY where people are guaranteed to get X amount of tokens, X period of time, right? Coming out of the Time Wonderlands and all that sort of stuff, right? The Olympus DAOs and all that, Titano locked it, and it created a different type of experiment. And a lot of amazing things happen. So where does that leave us, right? It puts us in a position where now that we're gathering data, right? We've been gathering data, we are getting better at figuring out what we think needs to go with these other things that are there in order to make this project sustain. The challenge is, though, Zach, is the industry changes all the time. Like I tell people, those 2/3 of the people that left were mostly the experimenters. Now we've got die-hard, like, chiseled and grizzled DeFi people, where they don't want to be sold, they don't want to be told, they want to be shown. And so as we're going out and creating these amazing things, which has to happen, the response to it is different in this marketplace. So do we continue to put things out? Yeah, we have to. And also you got to keep in mind, Zach, a lot of people, like, there's this discussion going on around, rebase is going to stop and all these things. And, I always take it to the larger discussion, right? These projects are about having the right use cases that allow the project to thrive. And you determine that by experimentation, by paying attention to things and what's going on and looking at the status of your project. And then you keep an open mind, right? And you go, okay, listen, this thing, which is an amazing asset, is becoming amazing liability, and you got to pay attention to that. And you have to be brutally honest with yourself about what's going on. So, these are inanimate objects. If rebasing, as an example, ends up being a liability, it's not going to wake up one morning and scream to us going, hey guys, we have to do that. We've got to pay attention. We've got to do things. I said this, and I hate to name another project, but when Sphere ended their rebasing and people talked to me about it, including people from Sphere, and what my feeling was, I said, you got to be careful, right, about what you're replacing it with. So like with Titano, we talk about rebasing. My approach has always been, and I've said this since April, right? And I invite you guys to go back and listen to my AMAs. If rebasing is amazing, but it's got huge liabilities, and we have to take that into account. And if we can't overcome those liabilities, we need to come up with things that don't have those same liabilities, but have the same amount of potential benefit. And I remain on that course with Titano, right? We have to replace the benefits that rebase. If we're gonna end rebasing, we got to replace the benefits that rebasing brings with something that doesn't have the same set of liabilities. And the guys are acutely aware of that, right? So I don't know of, and I haven't heard that there's any plan to end rebasing, but I'm using rebasing as an example. Everything needs to be looked at in that way. What's the benefit versus what's the liabilities? And sometimes those things change, right? When you start out, it might be a huge benefit with small liabilities, but you go over time and the equation changes. And so, yeah, Titano's in the middle of that, but Titano's an innovation company, right? They are coming up with new ideas and throwing them out there and pushing, and some of them will work really well and some of them will fall in their face. TSP, which are BUSD staking pool, is fantastic. And there's going to be more of that coming. So, yeah, we got to innovate. We got to keep pushing. Standing still in an innovation industry is death. Everyone knows that. So yeah, so that's the answer to that, Zach. Yeah, we're gonna keep putting out things, we keep trying things, and the things that are tried they're just not random things. They're things that are coming from, well, this type of thing works. Let's see if it works in Titano. This is something that's been uh, uh, impactful. Let's bring that kind of a thing here, right? This is the idea around the DEX. It creates, with the goal of lower inflation, by creating opportunities to burn, lots of revenue, introducing ourselves to new tokens, and then getting people to hold on to the tokens longer. So those are the four goals. It sounds like I'm describing a DEX with a launch pad. That's what it sounds like. So if you want to talk about projects that sustain, I just told you the four elements of it. Sounds like I'm talking about a launch pad, right? So it sounds like I'm talking about a DEX with a launch pad. So those are my thoughts around it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. And we do have one question for the community, and I think it'll probably be a good spot to end it off. But um,
You
our
got it.
our John Draws asks, right now it seems like the sentiment is suffering. The Titans love the project, but there's a lot of fear going around. Have you or the team considered ways to engage the holders to help temper that fear? It is a scary time all we all
Yeah.
know, but it isn't time to amp up the engagement to keep those Titans who love. But isn't it time to amp up the engagement to keep all those Titans who love the project still on your side?
Thank you for that. And the answer to that is yes. I mean, I know people are terrified. It's you know we it's interesting, Zach. Titano has never been in a crypto bull market. Like earlier today, someone said to me, "Yeah, man, when you guys were flying in the bull, when? Look, check the chart. Titano launched November 16th, 2021. Show me the bull market we were in. We've never been in a bull market. We've been in a market that's gone down, then went sideways, and gone down, and went sideways, and went down, and went sideways. What happened was Titano, and I remember these discussions. We were going against the trend, and a lot of people were going, "Oh my God, we found a project that was market independent. Doesn't matter where the market is. This thing is just going to keep going up." And I kept saying, "That's a lie." Right? We are in a honeymoon period with Titano, and we need to be prepared for when the honeymoon is over. And eventually it did. It's funny. The If you ask me, and a lot of people have, what do I think happened with the Titano price? We got overwhelmed by all of these forks and by this negative sentiment, right? It wasn't inflation. And the reason it's you have to remember, we got brilliant people. I talk with mathematicians and guys that run funds and all this kind of stuff. And people were much smarter than me about managing money and looking at these things. And I've had so many conversations around inflation because at one point, what I wanted to get was a model for when I could determine like inflation. Like when does inflation like overtake a project? There's got to be a number, right? If you're going to tell me it's going to happen, then there's got to be a formula. And so I was trying to engage people going, man, give me that form. Give me a date. David, at the current rate of revenue we're taking in and rebasing on June 22nd, we're dead. But what I got instead was it doesn't work that way. Why? Because people engage in a project based on sentiment. And what makes a project go up, right, primarily is people buying your token. So when the sentiment changes, people buy less of your token or sell more of your token and the price goes down. So when I talk about what happened with Titano, I'm using that as my foundation for the conversation. We got overwhelmed with negative activity. Jesse Eccles came out and said, yeah, I heard this conversation around, inflation around Titano that came from Simsala at Sphere. I know Simsala is truth. And yeah, man, so I'm worried about this. Okay, Jesse, well, have the conversation with me, right? Because I want to understand what you want to understand. And when I talked with Jesse, he didn't have anything other than the feeling. But the word got out and projects started marketing Titano's over, right? Titano's over. And these were rebase projects. And what they didn't realize is they were putting nails in their own coffin. Because if you're saying, well, there's a life expectancy on a rebase project, the life expectancy on all of these projects. Why single out a rebase project? I mean, Tune Forks aren't creating tokens. It's like, so, but perception's reality. And the perception began to dictate what was going on with Titano, and more people bought into it. And then we had a hack, and then we had pancake swap dumping. And the one thing that we've been able to stop from happening with Titano, which is bad news causing some of the investors to not only run but spread more bad news. Right before that happened, we had this huge run up in holders because everyone was FOMOing into Titano. And those people, unlike the real Titans, they didn't know about the project. They didn't care about the project. They didn't have any information about the project. They were just like, man, I got to get on this thing because it's a rocket ride. And then we had this hack and people were, oh, there's a Titano airdrop. We never did an airdrop. But all these people, oh, there's something wrong with the project. It was a series of events and all this negativity. And then the YouTubers took it on. See, I told you, it's the rebasing. That's what's happening. It's killing the project. And we got overwhelmed. And no amount of me doing AMAs or saying this is just like, yeah, David's just selling you some BS. And of course he's going to say there's no problem. There is. And so for me, what became important when everything settled down was we got to control our narrative again. So using that as a foundation to answer this question, yeah, there is more communication that needs to happen. And I've been this week in Telegram. I've been living in Telegram, right? There's three groups there. There's a whale group. There's a like a concerned Titano group, and then there's the regular group. And I've been in there, and I've been taking all the heat, and I've been answering all the questions, and I've been getting into the debates. Debates great, so that the Titans know we're not running from. I'm interacting with you, and more and more and more that's going to happen. Bring an example. This marketing, part of the reason why we're not just outsourcing everything to some outsized marketing company, even though we're amazing, is because we want to have actual Titans who are going to interact and come on Titan Talks and talk with you guys and give you details about what's going on. That was something that came up with this week and last week in Telegram. Oh, how much will we know? Well, some things, guys, I can't tell you. Well, why not? Because that's them. It's not us. But then we started talking. It's like, you know what? Let's make it us. That's a way to have more communication, more interaction with the Titans. So yeah, there's a process underway that will cause more engagement, and I'm hopeful that it'll help some of the Titans have their minds eased. It's as you know, Zach, it's a tough time right now, right? And there's this industry goes through these phases, and this is the first one I've been through. I've imagined it's always been the same, where people are like, oh, is this thing over? And oh my God. And the one thing I know is those projects that make it through keep building, right? They keep building, they stay on, and they modify, and they look at things, and they re-examine, and they bring in new, and they blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we've got to communicate that better, and we've got to communicate that more. I am committed to doing it. I know the whole team is committed to do it. I had a conversation with Summit yesterday, and I said, dude, you got to jump in more, right? We got to start doing more of these impromptu AMAs, right, that we haven't done, and take on questions, and and let people know what we're seeing. Let people know how we're responding to a lot of this stuff. Like I said, our responses, when I get afraid, I do something. I'm not the person in the scary movie where, oh my God, there's a monster. I'm not that guy. I'm looking for a stick or a gun or some running shoes. So the whole team is that way. No one's sitting going, oh, we're dead. Nobody's doing that. We're saying this is the time to build. And we got to keep introducing things. We got to keep engaging. I've had 2 calls today with other projects, right, that are interested in partnering with us and, and listing on Switch and doing all these things. We're working. So yeah, we do need to communicate that more. We will communicate that more. We're excited to communicate that more. So yeah, you'll see more. You Titans will see more of that as we go along. And you are, as I constantly said, you guys are this project. You're at the heart of this project. You're appreciated. You are loved. You are respected. I hope those people that I interacted with in Telegram, some of the conversations have been a little rough, but I hope what I have shown is just how much you're respected and just how much you're appreciated. Whether we agree on something or not, I get that when you have an issue, it's coming out of your passion for this project. And I don't ever want to spoil that. I don't ever want to take that away from you and have you go, oh man, well, what are you talking? Bring it on. Don't be concerned about me not being able to take it. I can take it. I will be brutally honest with you. Like I said, this is important, Zach. When you ask a question, you got to be prepared that there are 3 potential answers to that question. The answer you want, an answer that you don't want, and I don't know. I don't know is an answer. It may be the answer that may not be what you want to hear, but sometimes things are I don't know, or the team doesn't know. Some of these things become a reality or a possibility when certain factors occur, and everything's changing right now. So what we do know is Switch is the focus, right? We're pushing this because of all the value it can bring the Titans. You talk about replacing that revenue. We launch a couple of the right projects, and the Titans are involved in those projects. We can outdo 2% a day easily. So this is one of the reasons why we've jumped in, hands and feet, and aren't just looking for projects. We're creating projects that have this potential. We're not just going to sit here and wait and hope someone rings the doorbell. We're making them. So yeah, that has to be communicated more and better, and we will do that. But just know you guys are appreciated, and you're heard. you're being heard about this. So more is coming.
Yeah, I like that mindset of, I guess, taking ownership over the situation and being
Mm.
honest and appreciative of everybody that's involved. No, I really like that. But
Yeah, this. I'm sorry. One more thing. The marketing company, like I said, is amazing. But going through this process, I mean, it's been 5 weeks now, right? It just gets set up, and I'm sure they're going to do an amazing job. But part of what we need to do better in Titano is move faster, right? So you know, this is one of the things. So think about it. I'm taking on another job for myself. I got to run this marketing initiative, right? But it's important right now. And the benefit of it is, like I said, we'll control a lot of our assets, not a third party. And I've been a big stickler for that. So let's bring it on. Let's do it. Let's do it. And probably what would take the marketing company a week to do some of the things we're taking on, we can do them in a day. We are so yeah. There are things where they are indispensable. The marketing company, we got to have them do this, and where I'm happy to interact with them. They're amazing, but you know we're taking on some things because we should and we are. And again, the benefit to the Titans, in addition to having more assets controlled by the project, is more interaction. You'll know these people that we're working with, and you got direct communication with them. So exciting, man. Exciting. All right. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, man.
yeah, I appreciate you coming, spending 2 hours of your Sunday night to have this chat. And I appreciate the audience for tuning in too. Some of you guys here for
Yeah.
the entire 2 hours and taking
Wow.
that amount of time out of your day to hear what we have to say. It's very humbling. So
Yeah, man.
very, very appreciative.
Yeah, man. Oh, thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming, and thank you for listening. And yeah, listen. Like I say, I'm one person with one person set of experiences. I'm happy to share with people. Um, as you guys even get to know me better, you'll see I've always been this way in terms of how I look at something and wanting to add value and all those things. I think it it's an obligation that I have. And yeah, I so maybe even now you kind of understand why, like, I'm committed to Titano. I'm committed to the guys. I think lesser people would have run by now. And they're fighting all the time. And that's commendable. So yeah, you guys are appreciated. Zach, thank you to you. Thank you to Cardinal House. And I am a big supporter of you guys. Um, I'm one of your biggest fans. Anything I can do to help, anything that's available to me, I'm happy to offer it. I think you guys represent what I like to see in this space, which is smart people who are dedicated, who are focused on bringing value. I think that's how we're going to survive. Sometimes it isn't the sexiest thing, you know what I mean? It's not the most provocative thing, but it really is critical, especially at a time like this. So I thank you guys for doing what you're doing. I'm always following you guys. And like I told you, it's like, man, every time I look at you guys, you got something going on. It's amazing. And it's not easy. So again, I want to commend you and support you. Thank you for having me. I'm humbled by that. And yeah, I'm available to you. And so thanks again to everybody for being here.
Yeah, I appreciate the kind words and appreciate everybody tuning in. And I guess with that being said, until next time.
Until next time.